she's so fine. Hell of a blows my mind. Hell of a lights my day.
What's good, guys? Today is Friday, March the 12th, 2021. This story came out around 7:34 a.m. Eastern Time. Philadelphia violence, 3 dead, including 2 teens. After violent day, 6 others injured. In the span of about 8 hours Thursday, there were 9 shooting victims at 3 separate scenes in the city of Philadelphia. 2 teenagers were killed. In response to the violence, Mayor Jim Kenney announced late Thursday night his administration will start holding public briefings next week to share strategies underway to address this public health crisis and create safe, healthy communities. Gunfire rang out in the parking lot of an apartment complex on the 1400 block of North 76th Street around 3 p.m. Thursday in the city's Overbrook Park neighborhood. The shooting claimed the lives of a 24-year-old man and a 16-year-old. Police said a 30-year-old man and a 19-year-old were also shot. Both were hospitalized in extremely critical condition. One of the bullets struck Valerie Owens' home. "I heard a lot of shots," she said. She said the bullet pierced her grandson's third-floor bedroom window. "That bullet came in and went through and hit the door, so if he was sitting there, he would have gotten shot," Owens said. Police Commissioner Daniel Outlaw said residents likely saw the gunman. "Given the number of people shot at one time, it's not puzzling, but it leads us to believe that there are more people out here that know what happened." I'm going to go ahead and play her video where she speaks about this.
Yeah, a little bit after 3 o'clock this afternoon, we received calls about shots fired or people that had been shot here behind the building in the 1400 block of North 76th Street. And upon our arrival, we did not find anybody, but we quickly learned that 4 victims had been transported to Lankino Hospital. 1 person has already been pronounced. There are 3 others, one that we know of that is currently going into CAT scan, and there are 2 others that are in critical condition. It's not a lot of information that we have at this time. We are doing everything that we can to get interviews from witnesses that may have seen it, to gather any video evidence or gather any witness statements that we can. But, obviously, given that this happened in the broad daylight, it's quite alarming. And just given the number of people shot at one time, it's not only puzzling, but it leads us to believe that there are more people out here that know about what happened, and we're asking for them to come forward.
Did you mention the conditions of the other 3?
Yeah, so there's 1 person that was pronounced. There are 2 people that were listed in critical condition, and there's 1 person that's currently in CAT scan, so we don't know their medical condition at this time.
Is it worrying too? You said because I'm going to ask you to give them an object question when the weather's getting warm.
Yeah, we do know what it means when the weather gets warm. I thought that, with the winter or with the weather getting cooler, that it would slow things down, and quite frankly, it didn't. But over the last couple of days, as we saw the weather begin to get warmer, we're starting to see the activity pick up a bit more. There are more people outside, soaking in the sun, and we're seeing a lot of our shootings begin to increase as well. So again, once these areas are brought to our attention, we go where the data takes us. We increase our presence, and we do everything that we can to work with our community partners in the neighborhood to prevent the next shooting from happening. Thank you. So given that we haven't had the opportunity to speak with them yet because they're in surgery, we haven't been able to positively identify them and to confirm their ages. I do believe, though, that the ages range from 16 to 30, but I don't know for sure, and we won't know that until we're able to verify their identities.
The second shooting occurred around 7:36 p.m. when police said someone opened fire at a recreation center on the 5500 block of Christian Street. A 15-year-old was killed after being shot in the back of the neck. 2 other 15-year-olds suffered graze wounds in the shooting. Both teens are expected to survive. A number of children were on the playground and basketball courts at the time. Sources believe there may have been more than one shooter. Police said it's not clear if the 15-year-old was the intended target. The third shooting happened around 11:20 p.m. in Point Breeze. Police said a 38-year-old woman was hit while inside a house on Tasker Street. A 19-year-old was sitting outside the home. He was shot twice. Both were taken to the hospital in stable condition. Minutes before the third shooting of the day, Mayor Kinney released his statement on Thursday's violence, referencing the other two incidents. 2021 is on track to be the most violent year we've experienced in our lifetimes. We cannot stand by as we lose an entire generation to this ongoing scourge of gun violence. We must rise up with one united voice to demand this horrific violence come to an end and work together to achieve that goal, said Mayor Kinney in a statement. The mayor said the public briefings will begin Wednesday at noon. No arrests have been made in connection with these incidents. Anyone with any information is asked to call police at 215-686-TIPS. I'm going to go ahead and play the video that actually started the story now.
Breaking overnight, the headlines and heartbreak just won't quit. Gun violence has taken hold over Philadelphia, and now top officials are declaring enough is enough. In the span of just 8 hours yesterday, there were 9 shooting victims at 3 separate locations. In 2 of them, 2 teenagers were killed, including one gunned down outside of a West Philadelphia rec center. A statement from the mayor's office reads, at this rate, 2021 is on track to be the most violent year we've experienced in our lifetimes. We cannot stand by as we lose an entire generation to this ongoing scourge of gun violence. We must rise up with one united voice to demand this horrific violence come to an end and work together to achieve that goal. Action News reporter Catherine Scott is live at police headquarters as detectives continue to work these cases. Good morning.
Good morning, Tam. And starting next week, the mayor's office is going to host regular public briefings to share strategies that they're working on to address this crisis as the violence has just continued to rage in the city. In West Philadelphia, you can see police on the scene. 3 15-year-olds were shot at a rec center at 55th and Christian. It happened around 7:30 last night when there were a bunch of kids out on the playground and courts. One of them died, and the other 2 15-year-olds were grazed by bullets. Police believe there may have been more than one shooter. It's not clear if the 15-year-old was the intended target. In Point Breeze around 11:20 last night, 2 people were shot stemming from an earlier argument. A 38-year-old woman hit while inside a house on Tasker. A 19-year-old male sitting outside was shot twice. Both are stable. And in Overbrook Park, a quadruple shooting in the parking lot of an apartment complex. You could hear the gunshots and see someone run for cover on camera. Broad daylight, 3 o'clock in the afternoon on the 1400 block of North 76th Street. And his 16-year-old died, bullets hitting nearby homes. The police commissioner said they are working to lower the gun violence.
Once these are brought to our attention, we go where the data takes us, and we do everything that we can to work with our community partners in the neighborhood to prevent the next shooting from happening.
This is heartbreaking. This is a terrible thing that tears apart neighborhoods. It's something that all of us in government and out of government need to work together to try to solve as soon as we possibly can.
And there is surveillance video in some of these cases, so police continue to work through it to try to see if they can make any arrests. We are live at police headquarters. Catherine Scott, Channel 6 Action News.
Someone also tweeted about this incident yesterday. It says, I got hit. The sound of gunfire caught on residential cameras. Seconds later, you hear one of the victims of the quadruple shooting saying they got hit. Philly police on scene at 55th and Christian, a triple shooting. One 15-year-old shot in the back of the neck. He died. 2 other 15-year-olds grazed by bullets. No arrests. I'm going to go ahead and play this Ring doorbell video. Literally, that sounds like a war zone. Like, that's bananas. There was also a killing of a 15-year-old in Kingsessing, and that appeared to be a random act of violence. And I'll play the video that goes with this shortly. Philadelphia police say the killing of a 15-year-old on Tuesday night in the city's Kingsessing section appears to be a random act of violence. Antonio Walker Jr. was shot shortly before 7 p.m. on the 5200 block of Pentridge Street. In a news conference on Wednesday afternoon, Captain Jason Smith said Walker was playing basketball with his 14-year-old cousin when they heard gunshots. As the teens tried to take cover, Smith said he saw a car coming at them with an arm extended out the rear driver's side window. That's when more shots were fired and Walker was struck. Smith said laughter could be heard coming from inside the vehicle. Sick people, I'm telling you, sick-ass people. Quote, "This appears to be an indiscriminate shooting," Smith said. "At this time, we have no reason to believe these two kids were actually targeted," end quote. Smith called the shooting horrible. "It is a disturbing trend that we're seeing over and over again in Philadelphia," he said. Commissioner Danielle Outlaw expressed the same concern in a written statement issued earlier Wednesday. "The duty to protect these children belongs to all of us. The public has my full assurance that the Philadelphia Police Department is doing everything possible to curb gun violence in the city," she said. Antonio's parents said the gun violence he fell victim to had nothing to do with who he was as a person. "The loss of a kid, I will be mourning for the rest of my life," said his mother, Nadisha Williams. "No parent should ever have to bury a kid. That's my only son," Antonio's father said. Just terrible, terrible. That's a picture of Antonio Walker Jr. I'm going to play the video that goes with this now.
Investigators trying to figure out who shot and killed another 15-year-old in the city's Kingsessing section. Police say someone opened fire for a tourist last night in an apparently random act of violence. Action News reporter Corey Davis talked to the victim's parents, who say none of this makes any sense.
Antonio Walker Jr. lost his life out here at South 52nd and Pentridge Street. His parents are telling us that the gun violence he fell victim to had nothing to do with who he was as a person. Antonio Walker Jr.'s parents are keeping this picture close, hanging on to everything that reminds them of their 15-year-old son.
The loss of a kid, I will be mourning for the rest of my life.
Yeah, no parent should ever have to bury their kid. It's my only son.
Antonio's life was taken while walking with someone down South 52nd near Pentridge Street last night around 7 in Kingsessing.
His life was brutally cut short.
Philadelphia police say someone driving by stopped and started shooting. Antonio suffered fatal injuries.
Yesterday was one of the first nice days we had in a while, and it's crazy because I was actually interviewed eating at a restaurant yesterday, and my son wanted to go hang with his cousin, and I felt nothing wrong with that.
His parents tell us he was dedicated to school and did not hang out in the streets.
All he wanted to do was get back to school, finish his education, and become the professional athlete that he was. He worked out every single day.
Here he is with his track medals around his neck. His mom says Antonio was a 9th grade track star at Frieri Charter School in Center City. She wants him remembered that way, rather than just another number.
My son is another number of this large rising number of homicides. My son is part of that number. It's devastating. His future was so bright. So bright.
Investigators are telling us they did not find a weapon and are still working to gather more clues. In the meantime, Antonio's parents say they are planning his memorial service. Reporting here in the city's Kingsessing section, Corey Davis, Channel 6 Action News.
I'm going to end this story here, but a very violent week. Not just a violent Thursday, a violent week in Philadelphia. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day.